This week, we are finally making a build that I have been waiting to make all year. I've been waiting and waiting for some sort of stasis-related things to be in the artifact, and I've been waiting for them to buff stasis in the slightest. So today, we're going to be looking at a build that is going to carry you through Grandmasters, no matter what Grandmaster it is going to be. Of course, that build, you can tell by the thumbnail, is of course an Osmiomancy stasis turret build, because these builds are just absolutely perfect for any endgame content, not just Grandmasters. So, before we get into this video, like, comment, and subscribe, as all of those help the channel out and me a ton, so please consider doing that, and let's get right into this video. Like I mentioned just a second ago, we are finally making ourselves a stasis turret build, and there are two options for exotics you're going to want to use here. But first, we're going to look at the top choice, and that's going to be Osmiomancy Gloves, which comes with the exotic trait Fervid Cold Snap. Your Cold Snap grenades have an additional charge that recharges quicker on direct impact. The seeker spawn from Cold Snap grenades travels further. With these two Cold Snap grenades, we can easily have two turrets out at any given time. However, the better way to do this, and the way that I like to do this, is to throw down one turret and then just keep throwing Cold Snap grenades, as they're going to give us energy back every time they freeze an enemy. Depending on the enemy we freeze depends on the amount we get back, anywhere from 10% to 50%, and with some luck in a high ad dense environment, we can potentially get more than two turrets out at a time. Now, if you don't own Osmiomancy Gloves, like I mentioned, there's another really good option for this build, and that's going to be Verity's Brow, which comes with the trait The Fourth Magic. Weapon final blows with a damage type matching your subclass energy grant death throws, which provides a grenade damage bonus and grants you grenade energy. When you have death throws and throw a grenade, nearby allies gain greatly increased grenade regeneration for a short time. This is going to make it so we can get grenades very quickly, no matter which ones you use, whether that be cold snaps, glaciers, or dust fields, meaning we're going to be able to throw down multiple turrets with this build as well, and we're going to be able to give our allies a little bit of extra grenade regeneration as well when we throw a grenade or when we throw a turret. Now, very specifically, you have to use a stasis weapon for death throws and for Fourth Magic and Verity's Brow to do their thing, so we're actually going to talk about the stasis weapon that I'm going to be pairing with this build, and that is going to be the exotic Stasis Scout Rifle Wicked Implement. As for endgame builds, I know a lot of people like to sit in the back with scout rifles or long range weapons. This is going to pair very nicely with this build, as it comes with the exotic trait Creeping Attrition. Rapidly landing precision hits causes targets to become slow. This is very helpful, as now this weapon is capable of stunning overloads with the slow and can stun unstoppable champions when we freeze and shatter them, adding a lot of utility to this weapon when scout rifles are not on the artifact. Like, for example, this season, we can still use this build in Grandmasters with those particular champions. It also comes with the trait Tithing Harvest. While Creeping Attrition is active, destroying stasis crystals or landing precision final blows create a stasis shard. The stasis shard returns to you. Collecting stasis shards refills the magazine. This is going to play a heavy role in our stasis subclass choices, as well as some of our armor mods, as we're going to be making a bunch of stasis shards just from the weapon alone. This weapon also has a catalyst that gives us two more traits, the first being Hatopoletic Tribute, where collecting a stasis shard overflows the magazine, meaning we will never have to reload this weapon, and the second trait is Headstone, so we can make extra stasis crystals when we get those precision defeats. As for the class setup, we're going to start with the main focus of this build, and that's going to be the Aspect Bleak Watcher. Press and hold the grenade button to convert your grenade into a stasis turret that fires slowing projectiles at nearby targets. This one aspect changed everything in endgame content when it came out, as it gives you a crazy amount of control over the battlefield, whether that be against normal minor enemies or even in a Grandmaster with a bunch of champions. It allows you to single out enemies with ease and allows you to just walk through most of the hard endgame content, and it is probably one of the best builds at doing this. For our second aspect, we're going to take Glacial Harvest. Freezing targets creates a stasis shard around the frozen target. higher tier combatants create more shards. Because of Wicked Implement, we're going to double down on Stasis shard creation to help keep it fully loaded and to play heavily into our armor mods that we're going to go over after the subclass section. For our first fragment, we're going to take Whisper of Hedrons. Dramatically increases weapon stability, weapon aim assist, weapon airborne effectiveness, mobility, resilience, and recovery after freezing a target with stasis. This one fragment gives us roughly 60 mobility, resilience, recovery, roughly 30 stability, 15 aim assist, and 20 airborne effectiveness. These last set of stats, like the stability, aim assist, and airborne effectiveness, are very, very nice for PvP if you want to run a cold snap build in PvP. But the large bonus to mobility, resilience, and recovery is really what we're aiming for when it comes to PvE, as this is going to allow us to easily get into the 100s and stay there with ease, as we're going to be freezing everything with our weapon, their turrets, our regular cold snap, melee, supers. There shouldn't be a single time while you are in combat that you do not have this fragment active. The second fragment we're going to be taking a look at is Whisper of Durance. Slow that you apply to targets lasts longer. For those abilities that linger, their duration will also increase with a +10 to our strength. This is very nice to have, as it will allow our slow stacks to stay on targets longer, giving us more time to freeze them fully. And the big thing here that is really important is going to allow our turrets to last a very long time, meaning it's going to stay out there longer. We're going to be able to throw more cold snap grenades to then throw more turrets, and plays a very nice loop into this build. Our third fragment is going to be Whisper of Shards. Shattering a stasis crystal temporarily boosts your grenade recharge rate. Shattering additional stasis crystals increases the duration of this benefit. With Wicked Implement, as well as a perk off the artifact, we're going to have a ton of stasis crystals to make, destroy, and then give us a 500% increase to our base recharge rate for a maximum of 11 seconds that can be chained as long as you have stasis crystals to destroy. And finally, we have Whisper of Bonds. Defeating frozen targets generates an orb of power with a -10 to our intellect. We're going to be freezing everything and anything, so we'll be able to make orbs every time its 10-second cooldown is over, feeding our allies and even helping feed ourselves. Now, if you don't want to use Whisper of Bonds, you can use, I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but the fragment that gives you an overshield when picking up stasis shards is also very handy if you want to just have that additional overshield. I know that in a TWAB before the season launched, they said they were working on frost armor, so I wouldn't be surprised if this particular fragment gets changed from an overshield to this frost armor system that they are working on. As for our armor mods, we're going to start with our helmet. We have Harmonic Siphon, so any stasis weapon can make orbs. I took Power Preservation, so when we use our super, we can make more orbs for our allies. And we have Dynamo, so we can reduce the cooldown of our super when we use our Rift. Stasis is notorious for not being able to really make use of things like Firepower, Heavy-Handed, Ashes to Asset, and Hands-On because their abilities don't kill, they just control. So with Dynamo, we're going to be able to place our Rip and get some super energy for that. For our arms, this is one of the very few builds I use double grenade kickstart. This is mostly to reduce the cooldown when we throw a turret, as it uses the glacier grenade cooldown and not our cold snap grenade cooldown. On our chest, we have charged up, so we can have 4 stacks of armor charge for grenade kickstart to consume, and then our normal resist or reserve mods. On our legs, we're going to run Elemental Charge, so all the stasis shards we make will become armor charge stacks. It takes roughly 4 to 5 shards to get 1 stack of armor charge, but with the amount of shards we're going to be making, we're going to get those stacks very quickly. I also took a double stack of Innervation just to get our grenades back faster so we can freeze more targets. And finally, on our bond, I have Reaper to help with orbs, Powerful Attraction to pull orbs to us, and Bomber for that extra grenade energy. For our artifact, there are definitely a few perks you're going to absolutely prioritize for this build. The first of which is going to be Pillar of Ice. Defeating an encased combatant spawns a stasis crystal. This means we can get extra stasis crystals when you defeat a target that is encased with headstone. It can drop 2 of these crystals, meaning we can get more use out of Whisper of Shards. We're also going to take Dragon's Bite. Breaking a combatant shield with a strand or stasis weapon has a chance to suspend or freeze that combatant. Wearing Season of the Wish armor increases this chance. Our primary weapon is stasis, so we will always have a chance for this to go off. I'm currently trying to get a decent set of the seasonal armor to maximize this effect for grandmasters to see how it performs. Finally, we have have Hail the Storm. Shattering encased targets and stasis crystals deal increased damage. Shattering stasis crystals releases the shard of ice that slows and damages targets. This is super nice for the extra damage that it provides, as well as spreading the slow, so we can potentially freeze, slow, and start the loop of activating all of our stuff all over again. For armor stats, I definitely want you to get that discipline to 100 or as close as you can get it. For your other stats, I like to sit around 50 or 60, so when we have Hedrons active, we will guarantee ourselves to have 100 with extra to spare. Now, this build is always my go-to build when there is a hard grandmaster that I am not comfortable using anything else with. I've used this in day one master raids. I have used this basically anywhere that I think we're going to need to have control over the entire battlefield, and I highly recommend that you do as well, especially if you're running through grandmasters for the first time and you are concerned with how it's going to go. Never fails to bring a stasis turret build, especially one like this where you are constantly getting your grenades and turrets. With that, that is all I'm going to say about this build, and let it speak for itself when you use it. So like, comment, and subscribe, as it helps the channel out a ton and keeps me going, and I will see you guys in the next video.